Continuing on with our discussions on the meal plans and going over those. Russ talked about the diabetes plans yesterday and the senior plan, and today I'm going to be talking about the nursing moms plan and the gout plan, which really isn't a whole lot different. Like the kind of the basic structures, pretty much the same. Okay, so we have a nursing mom. We have two plans. We have the 1,500 calorie plan and the 1,800 calorie plan. And I've had quite a few nursing moms over the years. And so typically, this plan works really great for them because it helps them to keep up their milk supply, yet to reduce calories so they can still lose weight. They're eating all of the food groups. So they do recommend, though, that you start with the 1,500 calorie plan. And then if you're losing more than 1 or 2 pounds a week, or you're seeing a decrease in the milk supply, like that's the thing that I've seen when I've had to switch them to 1,800 calories. And I let them know to watch for that, but if they're losing more than 1 or 2 pounds a week, or they're noticing a decrease in the milk supply, you switch to the 1,800 calorie plan and you try that for a week or two. But if the milk supply, if they're still low, you might have to go to 2,000 calories. Some women might need more than 1,800 calories a day. So that's kind of just something to take note of. And then there's a guide to go over to give them, sample examples out of each food group. But hydration is super important. I mean, as with any plan, but they want to be drinking 64 to 96 ounces of water a day. And also another tip is that because they're only going to be eating, I think it's like 2 or 3 fuelings a day. So it's a good idea, like especially once you've had the conversation and maybe you're waiting for the order to come, is have them to start decreasing their calories a little bit slowly. So initiate the weight loss, because that's also going to help to not compromise their milk supply. They're still going to eat every 2 to 3 hours through the day, and you might want to have them start doing that even before they officially start on plan while they're waiting for the program to arrive. So obviously make sure they check with their doctor. And they can do still do gentle exercise, and they can also still take the daily vitamin, because they're not getting, so when somebody's having 5 of the fuelings a day, they're getting 24 vitamins and minerals. That's like a full dose of a multivitamin. But when they're only eating a couple of them a day, they're not getting a full dose, and they really need to have all those vitamins. So if their healthcare provider has recommended a daily multivitamin, or the prenatal vitamin, they can continue doing that to make sure the baby's nutritional needs are met. And they would obviously want to avoid alcohol and limit caffeine if they're nursing. Um, I've seen, like, we have a nursing moms group that's not ran by us. Okay. So that's not moderated by us. We don't control what goes in there or what people might see. So if you but there is one in there and I had seen a lot of those women tend to do 5-in-1 when they're nursing their baby. And I would just say that you guys would want to really encourage your clients that 5-in-1 is not a good plan for the health of their baby. It's not going to provide, their milk supply might not be affected, but that doesn't mean that they're having the most nutritious, milk that they're giving their baby, because they're taking in far too less calories for what their body needs. I forget how many calories it is. It's a lot of calories, though, that a nursing mom burns extra for their body to produce milk. So anyway, I've seen that before, and I just want to caution everyone, like, that's not something you want to advise your clients against that. And it would be better for them to wean their baby off and do 5-in-1 than to do that. Because at least if they were giving them formula, they're getting the proper amount of nutrients. So with the Nursing Mother's Guide, you have the 15. You can, hopefully you guys can see that. If you're on your phone, it might be too small, but it basically gives the breakdown for 1,500 versus 1,800 calories and how many servings under each food group that you want to have. So and then it also even gives some examples of what to have under that food group and how much constitutes a serving. So the guide is really handy in that, but it's very similar in that as how the team plan was that we talked about yesterday. And so, I guess it's Russ. I don't know if he's on yet or not, but I'm assuming Russ is the one who made these beautiful trackers, because I had to dummy some up in Google that I've been using. So I'm really excited about these trackers. that Russ had done up. So basically all they're doing is just like with the senior plan or the diabetes plan, they're checking off how many servings out of each food group. So they're having 3 fuelings a day, a couple uh, servings of lean protein. They're having a lot of fruits and vegetables. So this gives you a tracker. So there's really, not too much different on that. So with that, before I move on to the gout plan, does anybody have questions about the nursing moms plan or had nursing moms, been a
Actually,
nursing mom that you want to share?
I don't have a question, but I wanted to make a comment, and I'm sorry if you said this. I had to step away for a minute. So in experience, I'm listening to other coaches. It's suggested that they shoot for the 1,800 calorie program.
Actually, it said
Um,
1,500,
well, hold on a moment. It's 15 and 18.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's suggested that you shoot for that they shoot for the 18 because most likely they're going to fall short. And if they fall short, it's closer to the 15.
Hmm.
But if they shoot for the 15 and they fall short, they're not going to be getting enough calories in it. And then it's going to affect their milk supply. And I've seen this because I've coached a lot of, not a lot, but I've a good handful of nursing moms. So have them shoot for 18 and they fall short, they'll hit 15. But if they shoot for 15 and they fall short, they're depleting their body and they're not getting that enough nutrition. That
Okay.
was suggested to me by a couple of coaches.
Maybe, but I wonder with having this tracker if they've hit it, because I've always had a tracker I've given them to check off the boxes, and I've had a lot of people successfully do it with the 1,500. I've only had two do that had their milk supply start to dry up, and we had to up it. But anyway, but okay, but that's good to know, and that's good, maybe a good suggestion if people are going to be, maybe short it, because it does say in the guide that they recommend they start them on the 1,500, and that if they're noticing more of a loss than more than 1 or 2 pounds a week or a decrease in the milk supply that they up it to 1,800. So they might not have been shorting it, but but if they were losing too quickly, it might have been, maybe that was the case.
It all depends on the milk supply. That's
And I think it
huge.
depends on the person too, because everybody's different. And that's why they put that in there, I think, too, because they know that people will respond, differently. So Shannon, thanks, Janelle.
I I'm on my computer and I still couldn't read that little meal. So I just questions because
Enlarge.
this is really important, especially with nursing moms. Are they having any of the fuelings? I couldn't
Yes,
um
yes, they're doing 3 fuelings a day,
okay.
the nursing mom's plan. But because they're not getting a full dose of, you know, vitamins with that, that's why if their doctors wants them to stay on the prenatals or their multivitamin, that's fine to do, because they're not getting a full dose vitamin because they're not having 5 a day.
Okay. So they're doing 3 fuelings and then they're doing 3 meals basically with I noticed there was some
Right, right.
what I can see. Sorry, I couldn't really read it. So I was just kind
It's the
of
3 and 3 plan.
okay. Thank you. That just answered my question right there. But they're getting fruit. I saw there's like fruit and stuff in there.
Yes, and you can have that on the 3 and 3 plan as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it gives the breakdown. It's very, very, very similar to the team plan, like I was saying, because the team plan's the same way. You're having all whole foods. It's just how many servings out of each food group, and that's where they'll follow the tracker or they can follow this guide, which I know you can't see. And on my laptop, even I can't even enlarge it when I'm sharing the screen, but because it's not a touch screen. But anyway, it tells you how many servings out of each food group that you should get. And also the tracker is matching up to that we have here. And the very top one right here, it says daily fuelings, three boxes. They check mark off. And then like fruits and vegetables, they're gonna have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I usually tell anybody on the 3 and 3, I usually recommend they only do 1 or 2 fruit servings when they're told to have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I usually tell them 1 or 2 and at least 3 be the vegetables. And then anyway, so it does give a spot.
So then when you go to order, are they still ordering like the 5-in-1 plan and then they just order less often?
Yeah, well, typically that's what I do. I think they do have a 3 and 3 plan because the 3 and 3 plan comes with other stuff that they may not use. Like the Ampoline and Green or some of the optional snacks. So that's I don't know what some of the other I don't know what Russ is nodding his head. That's what he does too. I always have them get that because then they're getting the 115 off. They're getting, plenty of fuelings and and I put the books in there, of course. And then I just let them know, look, you're not going to need to order again for 6 weeks. And I do the same with the teens as
Perfect.
well.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sherry, that clarifies that a lot, and yeah, I do recommend the 5-in-1 plan to begin with, and then they'll order every 5 or 6 weeks, depending on how long they are on the nursing mother's plan. And just one side note, Denise is currently coaching someone who is nursing, and she came to us with a reduced milk supply and was concerned. She wanted to get started on a plan that would help her increase her milk supply, and so obviously that was her biggest concern. But still eat nutritiously, get all the vitamins that she needs, and then ultimately begin to lose some weight. And so we actually started her on the 1800 plan, 1800 calorie, and that's been a really good fit. I think it's a really good conversation to have because as you're working with your client, your nursing mom, be very aware of their needs, but also, sometimes be the coach because sometimes, nursing moms will say, hey, I need to get this weight off. They're really obsessed with the weight. And sometimes even at the detriment of breastfeeding their baby. Now they could always switch and go to some other, formula or whatever. But make sure that we're the coach, and they may even need 2,000 calories, like Sherry said. So while there's some guidelines starting people on the 1,500 in the Nursing Mother's Guide, that's what was stated on the screen is what nutrition support and our Optavia group has recommended. But I think Janelle makes a really good point. I almost go the other direction. Say, let's start with the 1,800 plan, see how you do, and then we can adjust down from there. Because some people that start the 1,500 calorie plan will actually not eat all 1,500 calories. So now they're eating 12 or 1,300, and they are not getting enough nutrition for the baby. So you have two roles: take care of mom and make sure that the baby gets the supply of nutrients. So it's a really important plan to follow. And the trackers, we just took the guideline right out of the book. And, if it said 3 fuelings, 2 healthy fats, 3 servings of dairy, we just put check boxes to make that easy in both the teens plan and in the nursing mother's plan. I think we even did that with the gout plan. We did it for any plan where they're not just following 5, 2, and 2 or 4, 2, and 1. Those are really easy because it's 4 fuelings, 2 lean and greens, and 1 healthy snack. So we don't really need a tracker for that. We've got the log in both the app and in the guide. But in the case of the nursing mothers and the teens and the gout, they have lots of flexibility. So we wanted to make sure that the trackers are great to have little check boxes to make sure that they get the nutrients. And the nursing mom that is using the tracker now with Denise said that's been a game changer. So I'm glad, we were able to create that and that helps. So just a couple of points.
Yeah, because I think that too, so, and like that's a good point. Like some women do. I have had a couple moms that come in and they're not even eating enough calories, that's what's your client. So that was good that you're able to offer the 1,800. So it's just like, again, it just comes down to having that conversation, and it's what your client needs for their individual situation and where they're at. Oh, I was going to say one more comment and go to Brenda about the trackers was that it's nice because they're not having to calorie count. Although, if you were worried about them hitting it, though, even at 1,800, if they still steamed, you could have them do that, I suppose. But it's nice because as long as they eat, what constitutes a serving, then they should be landing right around that. That's why I love that tracker for the 3 and 3. So anyway, Brenda, thanks, Russ. Were you done, Russ? Was that it? Okay. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning. I really like the Facebook page. I think you said, you just have to be leery with it because I know the nursing moms I've coached, have found that page helpful just for meal ideas and
Mhm.
because it's one thing to only have 2 feelings a day. They have to figure out the rest, and they're nursing a mom, and sometimes they have a toddler or other kids. So they have just like landed on one or two people to follow in there who have kind of set it up successfully. It's helped them. So,
Right. It's a
um,
very, very, very valuable resource. I was just saying
mhm.
we don't moderate it, so I don't know. But yeah.
Right, right. And I have had nursing moms come back and say, I saw this on the page. What do kind of thing. And so just be a bit, when you check in, I
Yeah.
always find, make sure you ask if they have any questions. I was wondering though, I had a potential client, she's postponed her order, I think until next month. Now she's only nursing, she's a 1 year old, so she's an infant. And she said she only really like wakes up a couple times a night, nurses a little bit. Now, would that be I haven't had that before. I've either had completely, you know,
Oh,
full on
yeah, that's a
nursing
great,
moms.
great point. That's a great point. And I didn't see it in there, but I do know from prior, if they're getting 30% of their, once they're down to, if they're getting 30% or less of their, I believe 30% was a number. Yeah, Jen, that's nodding. 30% or less of their milk supply is of their daily nutrition, I should say. If 30% or less of their daily nutrition is coming from breast milk, it's okay for them to do the 5-in-1 plan. And so there are some that are weaning their baby off. So once they get to that point where they're having 30% or less of breast milk, they can go to 5-in-1. But I've seen in that group, there's been some moms that say, I do 5-in-1 and they're 100% breastfeeding. That's what I was saying. And that's where I had some clients see that in that page. That's why I was just kind of cautioning about that. You don't want them to do that unless they get to the point where their baby's consuming 30% or less of their daily nutrition. So like once the baby starts on solids and they're older and they're having less and less and less, if they're still getting 70% though, of milk supply, then they would want to stay on the 15 or 1800 calorie plan.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Shannon.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was a nursing mom. I nursed all 3 of my kids. And for their entire year, I never supplement Florimel or anything. So that was what I was thinking. In the first 3 months, I actually was losing weight because you were burning over 500 calories of feeding.
Yeah, that's what I knew it was a lot.
Yeah, and that's where I do agree with Russ and Janelle. I especially a brand new nursing mom, 1800 minimum, because they are burning a lot of calories. And then as the baby is going on to whole foods, eating, I mean, not really whole foods, but baby food, then that's when I noticed after that first 3 months, that's when I started gaining the weight. Because you're still eating because you're really hungry through nursing. But then they're not taking as many calories from you. And that's where maybe going in reverse. I'm putting that out there because I've my experience that would make more sense. And then of course,
that does make sense.
when they're a year old, at that point, you're pretty much pumping to put into their cup. So you're trying to get them off the breast. It makes sense I don't even know if I'd go to 5-in-1 yet because they're still needing all those nutrients in that milk. The baby is still drinking the milk. It would be after they wean that I would do 5-in-1. I'd say maybe 4 2-in-1, and then kind of just slowly get them down. That's just my opinion. I don't know if I'm wrong, Russ, but I just know as a nursing mom, those calories are super important for the baby's brain development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing too that you made me think of was the other thing that I didn't see in this literature, but I know is there, or that guideline is that they need to be at least 2 months since postpartum. Like it has to be, the baby needs to be like if they delivered their baby 4 weeks ago, it's too soon for them to start the weight loss program. They need to wait
Yeah.
the baby is 2 months old. And I would even say like if it was a preemie, I don't know, that's probably a question for nutrition support, but I would think
Right.
if it was a preemie, like my granddaughter was born, that it would be whatever because they go by 2 ages, right? They go by 2 ages. So I would wait till it would be like if the baby was born January 30th, but due March 30th, I would even suggest that May 30th would be the true 2 month date because the baby's so tiny. It's just out of the uterus now. but anyway, so
Yeah, Sherry, I did drop in the chat right out of the Optavia Nursing Mother's Guide, the recommendation that you're just stating that the baby be at least 2 months old, and then also the recommendation about providing less than 30% of the baby's calories through breastfeeding. So the slides that we created for this presentation were an overview of the Nursing Mother's Plan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The full details of the Nursing Mother's Plan can be found in the Nursing Mother's Guide. You can also find that in the chat. And if you go to the Health Coach Business Launch, under the Nursing Mother's Guide, you can also download the guide, and the trackers are all there in the Health Coach Business Launch. So today's was really more of an overview, letting you know that we do have a plan and some basic guidelines. I think we've covered all of those this morning. And but this is such an important one because so many people come to the program. Certainly Elizabeth did. Others have, because they do want to eat nutritiously during the time that they're nursing. So I didn't mean to be the male in the house with all the breastfeeding advice, but needless to say.
What do you know, man? No,
Right?
I'm just kidding. I'm
What
kidding.
does that dude know? And he's giving me advice, right? So
No, that's great, Russ. And I love, I don't know if you were popped in already, but I love the beautiful trackers that you made, because I had a Google Doc that had like the little bubbles that I got one from years ago, and then I've just been adapting that one for all the different meal plans, and it's so much nicer to have this. So thank you, and I love that they're all right there in the Health Coach Business Launch.